Hello readers, my name is Justin. I'm going to be doing a 52-week book challenge. The idea comes from the 52 Book Club and I'm going to be using their prompts. The challenge starts this week with week number 1, prompt number 19, a book that has an alternate title. I am choosing The Star Is My Destination by Alfred Bester. Back in 1956, this book was originally published as Tiger, Tiger in the UK. Tiger, in this case, refers to a William Blake poem, but when it was serialized in the United States in the pulps, the magazines of the time in the 50s and 60s, it was serialized as The Star Is My Destination, and as it is known today. It often ends up on best of lists, way at the top 5, top 10, consistently, and for good reason. It is a great book, and a lot of science fiction ideas start here, or at least are originally attributed to this book and this author. It's a revenge story. It starts out with the main character, Gully Foyle, being abandoned and in space on a derelict ship, and his search for revenge for the people who left him in space. It is often referenced as a science fiction Count of Monte Cristo. It's an impressive list of science fictional concepts that start here. Cyberpunk is often credited by the originators of cyberpunk as starting with Alfred Bester. Mega corporations, noirish and bleak future, income inequality to the extent of the rich being massively influential and beyond the scope of any law, all exist here. And to my knowledge, all start here. And that is, if no other reason exists to read this book, a good place to start for a science fiction fan. Other ideas, space, I was reading it and it kept on bringing in ideas and imagery from the Firefly television show, space salvage, space barbarians, which in a post-Disneyfied Moana world, we might not want to look too kindly on the existence of a Maori culture in space, but it's there and it's written as that, and it creates an interesting detail of that story. There's also new wave elements later on in the book with the Burning Man and manipulations of space-time that are very interesting and predate even new wave in the 60s a little bit as well. And as it is a product of its time, there are some not great things, as any reader of this book should be aware of. The main character is a rapist. Neil Gaiman, in his preface for the reprinting of this book, talks about the choices that Bester makes in regards to that, how it's implied rather than described, is an interesting choice which creates an interesting situation for the reader. What do you as the reader do with your main character, your protagonist, rough as he may be? Now that he has committed this act, what do you do with him? It's an interesting question. Readers should be aware that it's there and that it is a challenge. Also challenging is the fact that the rapist is redeemed. There is a redemption of Gully Foyle. There is a redemption of this main character. What do you do with that? How do you square those two things? For me, from my perspective, not ever having been a victim, not ever having to deal with this directly personally, my opinion of that may be very, very different than yours, and that's understandable. But I think it's better talked about, better read about, better understood than not. And from that perspective, I think it has its place in the story to create that character the way the author intended. I think the author would have written that character the same way, regardless of book, regardless of time, regardless of some of the things that we usually write off about books or characters or even authors that we don't like a certain thing about. No, Bester wanted Gullyfoyle to commit that, and he wanted him to be redeemed, and that is part of the story, and that is something to be aware of for people going in about this book. So that's it. Thank you very much. These videos are going to be quick and short and basically an outlet for me to talk about what I'm reading as I make my way through the 52 book club prompts this year in 2022. Next week, I'm going to be doing prompt 24, a book that addresses a specific topic. It's going to be an academic text, which is probably a little bit different than most reading challenge books, but it's a good one for science fiction. It's a good one for science fiction readers. Thank you very much for watching. Happy reading. We'll see you next week.